Hello everyone, Kurt over here, and welcome back to another episode from Holefitter Labs. Today we continue on with Six Master Dagger. I know I said it last week that Six Master Dagger was the last play and everything else, but I actually like the fact that I made the mistake on that again. Because the reality is, this play right here is also, I think, indicating to the creation of the time when it comes down to manuscripts and how we have to kind of sometimes forgive the people of the time because they don't have word processing or PDF and stuff like here. Where I can, let me just change this real fast. This right here, he states that this is supposed to go before the one before. That tells me this was a typo. But he has the grace to be able to say that we're continuing on with this right here. It's supposed to go here because it's part of the whole thing, but we're going to move into this again anyway. And again, we're going to talk a little bit there right here throughout the video about that. I think it's kind of cool. But with that being the case here, we're going to talk about this last play, which I think is absolutely viscerally nasty. And let's get into it.
Okay, so fun thing about this right here, and actually as I was getting ready here to kind of do my work today on this, is we were talking about Sixth Master Dagger moving into the Seventh Master here, and I found this play right here, and in my mind I just thought, I was like, oh yeah, we're going back to the Seventh Master. But this right here is a sign that these manuscripts right here, you can't look at them like academic books of the modern era. This play right here is the last play. And it comes after the remedy. In fact, what he says in there is that it logically makes sense for this to go before the remedy. However, because I'm a part of the Sixth Master. However, I'm here, and this is what it is. To me, I see that as like okay, well, oh man, I'm out of let's just put this right here, and I'll put this blurb in here so I feel like I got this right here, right? I don't have control delete. I don't have deleting right here. I can't, control Y undo. Blah, blah, blah. I can't insert up here. Pen's already come down. Money's been already paid. And that's a big part about this. And again, I want to talk about that right there because, again, I think that's kind of cool because the reality is that, again, goes to what I say about this. Is you can't look at this as like a how to exactly do everything right here because mistakes are in it. But they're still as best they can be as they're preserved. Okay. Enough of that. This one right here is, in many ways, I think the inverse to everything we've been talking about. Up until this point, Sixth Master Dagger has been about covering it so that you essentially, I think that you either put the thing out or the point goes down. The image shows this. And in this right here, Dagger comes up. Instead of making a cover like this, instead it becomes a straight shot into the hand. Now, Fury states in this that this is better to do in armor because it is difficult. The hand is usually not armored. It's very difficult to armor the hand. And he would rather, and if he was unarmored, he would rather stab him in the face or other areas worse than the face. The point being with this right here is that I see this, and how I teach this and see it in many operations right here, is that if I'm doing this in armor, the whole point right here is he's talking about an attack. He's talking about using this as a means of thrusting in. So we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about this as a cover mechanism, and we're also going to talk about this, how in and out of armor, this gains access to earlier plays, potentially. So let's take it at face value first and foremost. Blade comes in, he comes over this right here, and that's the image that we see. All we see is the dagger comes up in this right here, and I've stabbed the person into the hand. Now, I've not been stabbed in the hand with a rondelle dagger, but I will tell you that the idea of having this needle point go into a spot that goes into the meat portion of the hand really is going to suck. And it's like putting your hand on something real fast, like hitting on a stove and ow, pulling right off this way is probably a response you're going to get. If this isn't armor, bink, and he goes, whoa, he pulls off with this right here. I've got a nice shape right here where I can now fall in and get to other positions and play off of that, okay? That's a big part about this. So instead of covering with the flat of the dagger in like this, I'm attacking inwards with this right here. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm replaying a First Master concept of coming over, and that's the point right here. Remember I said before, we don't want to cover like this because that's the way we have to go into your own hand. Plus we also want to be able to stick them if we have to. Personally, if I'm like this right here and I cover with this and I blow this all the way through his wrist, well, I might actually lock this in there. There might be tendon spasming, all sorts of things right here, and I just lost my dagger. Or it's harder for me to get it out, right? And that may not seem like a big deal, like when you hit him in the hand, but this person's not out of the fight yet. And if you think that he is, that's when he gets stabbed, right? So putting it in a space where I have limited the amount of blade I have right there, in stick, allows me the ability to still stab him. Let's just put this into your hand like this. To still stab him and to follow him with it. So I can drive him with pain compliance. That's a big part about this. So that's the first thing right here when it comes down to armor. We're going to next talk about what he says right here. If the person was unarmored, I would stab him in the face or places worse than that. What does that mean? Does that mean that off of this right here, off this cover, I'm going to go here first? Potentially. But why wouldn't I cover? That breaks up Fiore's understanding of what's happening in the manuscript, right? Where he says, take the dagger away. If I went straight at him like that, come in, I can put my arm up like this and use my forearm to put this here. But that also is very close, and he's touching me right now. So that could be one possibility. But again, I don't necessarily think that's the thing. It could be that he's playing on the concept of exchange of thrusts, where if he comes low with a Sultani line, right? If I come off this way right here, I can stab into his wrist, or maybe he comes off this way right here. It's like a boar's tusk thrust on the other side, and I pop in like this. But that's also gambling, and that doesn't really fit what Fiore is saying. So this leads me to think that what Fiore is getting at here is that this grip right here is as much of offensive as it is. It is as much as it's defensive for causing covering mechanisms. And like I said before, it is like coming in and striking someone's forearm with a blade. That's a lot, right? But now we can use this same position right here to stab the guy, to stab the guy, to stab the guy, and to use it as an offensive tool. So I can use it as an attack, which to me tells me that I'm no longer talking about him coming in and me performing it this way. It's reversing the roles where he might be coming at me that way, where he grabs into that six master grip, and now he's telling you from this right here, you can stab in all those areas that I just mentioned. Regardless if it's that or not, it doesn't really matter to me. Ultimately, this pulls back to the concept of what I think Fiore talked about. Do you have the mindset for it? What's your creativity? What do you observe about the other person? This is very strong. So me coming in like this is very, very strong, very, very, very powerful. I can put this in places where I need to, and I can keep a very strong square structure of my body to do the things that are necessary. But for armor, if I do this, I hit a breastplate. If he's not wearing faults, then sure, I hit him right here, I hit him in the chain, but he's also coming right back down. So hit him in a spot where you know you can control that shot. Okay? One more thing that I think as far as this right here goes, a part that this is a little bit of a courtesy, because what happens if you miss this thrust? And I think this is kind of cool because it kind of plays together with it. So the shot comes in with this right here. Instead of stabbing the hand, I come up like this and I just get the forearm in place. Well, in this consideration, what we've done is we've just gone right back to the very beginning of Six Master Dagger. So from here, I can take this, let go. I can put the pin into his arm if I need to, but I can let go, grab the wrist, and I'm right back into that lower point. So if I choose to thrust and use this as a counter mechanism to thrust against this person, he comes in and I miss. Well, I have a bind action right here. My forearms hit him. I can let go, grab, and now I go right back in to that first play of the first play after the cover of Six Master, where I come right here, I can rotate this down, I can put him into the lower lock if necessary, all those aspects, okay? It's just another avenue to get to the shape that allows me to get to the internal portion of his arm. And that's the last portion of what we have here for Six Master. Again, really dynamic, really interesting, and for me, I personally think that this right here is a bigger lesson about that you can use the dagger like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, however you need to get the task done, which is really kind of an interesting part about this. And again, I like how it shows at the very end here, this is kind of a mistake that was supposed to go ahead of time, but we're going to put it here anyway, which again kind of tells you we have to let these people be what they are, because drawings are very hard to maintain with certain things. And also, printing is different. So that's all we have for Six Master Dagger.
So you can see with the video here that essentially, again, This is a little bit different than the covers we've been seeing so far when it comes down to the certain plays of the manuscript. And one of the big things about this that I think is very interesting is that instead of coming up and covering with the dagger itself, what you're seeing is the point is coming online, you're coming up with this right here, and you are thrusting. He specifically states that you're stabbing into, it's easier to stab into the hand of someone that's in armor because, well, that's the part that's unarmored. But the part that's also interesting about this is that he is stating that if you were unarmored, I would stab you in other places like the face, the groin, etc. Like I showed in the video, does that mean that you just completely step right into somebody right here and completely forget that that's in space? I don't think so. And I actually kind of think that what he is saying here is that you can use this dagger shot as a means of being able to attack somebody as much as you can defend with it. And I think that's a big part about this right here that makes this such a very complicated position because, again, it's an introduction to half swording before you get to half swording. And I think that's really cool because it's showing how you can use this smaller tool to fight against this way. For anyone who's ever trained in armor, that's terrifying. Because when I half fought against people and they keep themselves like this, with a half sword, I'm a lot more open. When I'm in a dagger and I'm half swording, I'm a lot more closed, and my plate overcapsulates a lot of my chainmail. So openings are very tight in how you may or may have to get into somebody on that. And that's a big part about this. He's not grabbing it like this where I have him at the back of my hand and everything like this and covering wise. He is utilizing that point. The last thing I talked about in there was also about how you can utilize this right here. So what if you miss? You can, if off of the miss right here, you go right back to the second play of this manuscript, or the one that I thought was the same, where you grab the wrist. So either way, you grab right here or you grab right here. It doesn't matter. Both have gained access into a person in such a form or fashion that allows you to understand like how to close in. So that's a big part of this. I think is very important to look at right here. Is that once again you get different avenues, and I oftentimes wonder is. Like I said, this could have been like a typo, like maybe he put this wrong in the manuscript, but it could have been an afterthought too. And I thought about that here as, through the whole process of filming this, is that what if he saw this right here? Yes, this is Six Master, but I'm using a different form of Six Master in the context that may or may not necessarily be the defensive action I'm doing right here. And this kind of fits both Master and Remedy at the same time. So I can be or Master, Attacker, and Remedy. So I could be the person performing a defensive action with this. I could be the person that's doing the attacking with this. And I could also be a person that's using a remedy action in this case right here as a defensive measure. Just kind of how I see this right here. I wonder, because this play right here is very fascinating to me because of how complicatedly different in many ways it is. Because I'm using an attack, a cover, and armor, in armor consideration. And the vagueness of where am I hitting the person? Why am I hitting the person in the face or the throat? Why am I stabbing the person right here? Am I still contending with this arm? And that might be the part right here where we're looking at as an attack. So with that being the case here, just more considerations. Love to hear your thoughts on this right here. I don't know how much, have you practiced this before in, out of armor? What have your been successes, your failures on that? Please let me know. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on that. Again, this is not a modern day self-defense course. I say that again, so please understand that a lot of this right here is looking at techniques out of time and to try to understand why people were using them right here. When we apply them with much more like that kind of common sense approach of like, okay, I'm not going to try to like this is a technique that could happen within many things. That's the case. So, and I think that's kind of interesting about that. So please, as always, keep that in the mind right out there as you're seeing the footage. To all my viewers and subscribers out there, thank you so much for always tuning in. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate all the thoughts that come into this right here. Again, want to grow this, and that's not possible without viewers like you or the people that are subscribing to the channel or seeing it for the first time today. If you are new to the channel, please, like I said, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you can notify when you're going to have more content that's dropped. And please, as always, leave a comment. Love to hear what your thoughts are, your considerations, and to be able to kind of build off of what we're already doing right here. And with that being the case, everybody, as always, until next time, please stay safe out there, train well, and fight on. I'll see you all soon.